Do you think about your safety when you park near a van at the mall or stay late studying at school without anyone to walk you to your car? Do you think about your safety when you take a walk alone or when it gets dark? For myself and many women, thoughts like these cross our minds daily, while men rarely have a need to give stuff like this a thought. Men and women do not live the same lives, but that does not mean either is superior or deserves more respect than the other in our country. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying gender discrimination is strictly a female issue, because it very much is not. Males experience discrimination too. I am here, simply trying to get you to open your eyes up and see what the other gender goes through that you may not have experienced or even thought about. Of course, there's gender discrimination all over the United States. The issue spans race, religion, and even socioeconomic status, and the world for that matter, but today's talk will only focus on our issues in America. We do not enjoy the same freedoms. From the courtroom to the classroom, from the workplace to hometown society, gender bias touches from coast to coast in the U.S. A study done last summer by the Pew Research Center found that women say the country hasn't gone far enough when it comes to giving women equal rights with men. About 6 in 10, 57% of women hold this view, compared to only 42% of men. How long have we been talking about equal gender rights? The first version of an Equal Rights Amendment was introduced in 1923. It says, "Men and women shall have equal rights throughout the United States in every place subject to its jurisdiction." This was 95 years ago, and still, not only does America demonstrate an alarming pay inequality for equal work, but it literally should be illegal to give either gender more rewards for the same efforts. So why does it continue? The Equal Pay Act of 1963 requires that men and women be given equal pay for equal work in the same establishment. However, in 2017, surveys from the Pew Research Center reported that employed women are 5 times more likely than employed men to say they have earned less for doing the same job as someone of the other gender. That's 25% versus only 5% of men that feel that way. On top of that, harassment at work is greater for females at most jobs. A few of the major industries that highlight this would be the restaurant industry, corporate business offices, and the medical field. Compare men and women servers. Women servers get tipped better when they sexualize themselves more. But even women who simply go to work in their uniform and only do their job often get groped, or inappropriate comments get made to them at their place of work. Unfortunately, they often don't do anything, because if they do, they lose out on that tip or pay. Too little restaurant establishments go out of the way to stick up for their employees because they see them as replaceable and have a high turnover rate often. These servers not only have to put up with the unpleasant treatment from guy customers, but studies show that female customers are more likely to tip female servers up to 80 cents more if they rank them higher on an attractiveness scale. But in the same study, it shows women tip their male servers about the same regardless of how their looks were rated. I would like to say that this study, which was published in the Economic Psychology Journal, was an isolated study, and researchers only surveyed about 200 customers at 5 different restaurants in Virginia, and more broad research needs done on this entire topic. But let's continue. How do you feel about having a female doctor? I feel personally more comfortable with a female doctor. Often, people feel less awkward about being open with their health issues when they share their physician's gender. Now, when we compare men and women doctors in our society, the lady doctor is less trusted. Too many citizens are holding tight to the idea that women are the caring nurses and men should be the intelligent doctors. Now that you know a little bit more about harassment in the workplace, which gender do you think gets harassed more frequently? Online, men usually do not have to worry about opening up their notifications and having a bunch of strangers messaging or adding them. Women, especially those around my age range online, receive random friend requests, receive repetitive messages, and even unwanted random photos, too often depicting explicit images. A lot of my attractive female friends have actually deleted their Facebook accounts because of the overload of unwanted attention. This is not something that happens to the average guy, or even most attractive men. They're often actually surprised that this happens to females so much. Women are too frequently the victims of more serious sexual harassment, and unwanted advancements, and terrifyingly aware of the real possibility of sexual assault or even rape. Lastly, on a lighter but still important note, living our lives in general and going out in public is different as a girl. When walking to get the mail, ladies get honked at or asked if they need picked up, which can be scary. Harassment can come while shopping at the grocery store, while driving, and the saddest time, when enjoying the beach. I've personally seen women's pictures taken while trying to tan at the beach without their permission. There are endless situations. Any situation that you can imagine some girl has probably been harassed in. Now moving into females in high places, which will unfortunately be a smaller section, which therefore should reflect the size of this issue on its own. Every single person in this country should have the same amount of opportunity. Our country has never had a female president. 2016 was the first time a woman had been named as a major party's nominee for president. Only 1/3 of managers in the U.S. are women, and only 1/4 of executives are. Nancy Pelosi became the first female Speaker of the House in American history as the 110th Speaker. And our United States Defense Secretary only recently removed the final barriers that prohibited women from even applying for certain military roles, like special operations teams such as the Navy SEALs. Next, moving from women's discrimination in the workforce and politics onto social issues of gender bias. I know I have said a lot about American females tussle with equal treatment, but there is definitely a place in this conversation for men's freedom to feel equal as well. We all have differences of our own in specialties and uniquenesses. Still, we all deserve the same respect from each other. It is not fair that mothers are often awarded custody over fathers in divorce proceedings, and that maternity leave is so gender specific at the majority of companies and the businesses in the United States. It should be parental leave, and everyone should feel comfortable and not feel self-conscious about how it will reflect on their dedication to their career. It should not be a weird thing for a successful man at work to take some time off to be there with his family and newborn. And new mothers should be proud to share this privilege with the fathers of our country. There is no parental leave policy in the United States. This leaves the burden to fall on individual companies to decide what to do. The positions of these companies hold on the topic of maternity leave in the United States differs widely and almost always favors women. This ideal dates back to when mothers were seen as secondary earners and males as the breadwinners, but this is a skewed perspective that does not reflect the times. When comparing the earnings of women to men, women earn 80 cents for each dollar made by men. Remember, it's illegal to pay differently based on gender in the United States. Although there are many discriminations against women, still in our country, gender bias and discrimination are male issues too. Men are faced with more pressure to provide for their families and succeed at their job, which unfortunately causes them to spend less time with their loved ones. Progression such as voting for more females in politics for leading roles and promoting women fairly would attract more women to roles like these. And this is important, so younger generations can be inspired by successful women and feel open to do so. Every individual is their own person and can adopt any particular aspect of being male, like being strong, or being female, like being sensitive. We do not need to put pressure on fitting perfectly into our gender's box. It has been pretty surprising to me, to be honest, researching different opinions on gender discriminations in the United States. The majority of the guys I spoke to and read their opinions on the topic do seem to lean towards not really believing this is an issue in our country, or at least believe it is not as big of a deal as it has been made into. Whatever your feelings on the topic were when you came into this talk, I hope I have opened your eyes on some of the truly important differences we face as different people every day. And even if I didn't change your mind, I hope I lent you some empathy for the situation for both males and females in America. How do you guys feel about gender discrimination? Do you believe there is a gender bias in the United States? Let me ask you another question. Do you feel men and women are equals in our country? We all are our own person, and it should be up to us which characteristics define us. Gender bias and discrimination does exist in the United States, and we need to work together to make a change. Thank you.